Hello and welcome to Just Hoops. In today's video, we're going to continue to preview the 2022-2023 NBA season by taking a look at the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavs ended last season losing in the play-in tournament, but have a lot of young, fun talent and the addition of an all-star in Donovan Mitchell that can set them up for a lot of success this coming season. To start this video, we're going to take a look at Donovan Mitchell and how he can impact in Cleveland this season and for the future. To start, let's talk about his perimeter scoring ability. As a scorer in general, he's very shifty, explosive with the ball in his hands, and he can come in and go and create space against virtually any matchup, and that applies to the perimeter. He does a good job at getting his feet down, being set, and rising up into a shot. Whether it's contested or not, it's the same smooth shot and release, regardless of the situation. His ability to score from the perimeter will be huge for the Cavs, as they were middle of the pack last season from beyond the arc, and I think that his ability to go out, play off of guys, and also create shot opportunities from beyond the arc for himself will definitely help the Cavs improve at the offensive end of the floor. But now let's talk about his shot creation ability in general. He's an explosive three-level scorer that can go out there and score in bunches in a variety of ways. First, as a finisher, he can finish with either hand, finish above the rim, finish through contact. He's really athletic for his size, and he's able to get up, take and accept contact in the air, and make plays happen deep in the paint. Secondly, I want to talk about his floater. He's a really nice floater. They didn't go to too often in Utah these past two seasons, but I think moving forward, especially with Cleveland's attack and offensive spacing and pace and just how they operate, I think his floater will be huge for them, as he'll have a Jarrett, Evan Mobley, Kevin Love always working on the interior, and this floater will be a really good tool to go to and have good scoring opportunities. And lastly, when it comes down to his shot creation, he will be a deadly mid-range scoring threat, whether that means moving off the ball, catching it, one dribble pull-up, or creating zone shot in ISO situations. We've already spoke about his ability to score and be an explosive athlete, but when it comes to transition, he can bring a new level to Cleveland's offense. The Cavs were 26th in pace last season, and a guy like Donovan Mitchell can definitely help them increase this statistical measurement. He can run the floor hard whether he has it or not. He can push it himself. He can run wide. He can also space the floor on the break, whether that means the defense shrunk in and he's handling and he can just pull up, or play off of guys by running wide, running his lane, and just knocking down these shots. As a transition threat, I'm excited to see him, Garland, LeVert, and Rubio running the break, playing with each other, and just having fun and being explosive with this young roster that Cleveland has assembled. The last thing I want to speak about offensively in terms of Donovan Mitchell's impact in Cleveland is his playmaking. It's a highly underrated part of his game. He's a really quality passer, and he does a good job at controlling the pace, controlling the tempo in the half court, and making smart under control decisions, also with using his athletic ability. He averaged 5.3 assists per game last year. He has the ability to play out of the pick and roll, play off of the drive. That athleticism allows him to make tough passes a lot easier. He can get up in the air, turn, float, and make a pass to the perimeter. Also in the pick and roll, he does a good job at just understanding his pacing, understanding where the advantages could be, and to also find space and go there quick and explosively. I think that his athleticism allows him to be a really good playmaker, and I think that his ability to have the ball in his hands as primary ball handler will free up the offense and allow Garland to be more successful, and vice versa. Garland with the ball, Donovan will be successful off of it. The last thing I want to touch on is Donovan Mitchell defensively. On ball, I think Donovan Mitchell could be a high-impact guy. He's not the best defender in terms of the statistics. He's not the biggest guy, but his strength and athletic ability definitely allows him to go out there and take on matchups head-on. I think that him, along with Garland, that they're both underrated defenders, but Donovan will be responsible for a lot of primary matchups next year where he'll have to take on the lead ball handler, and Garland is going to have to take the second guy. But it's going to be interesting to see his impact at the point. Being athletic, being strong, being physical up into the ball, making plays, pressuring, forcing turnovers, and that defensive playmaking ability is what will really make him special. Turning teams over, which is something Cleveland really didn't do too much last year. They had an elite defense, but they only averaged 7 steals a game, which was 26th in the association. I think Donovan can be a high playmaking threat defensively in terms of flying around, using his IQ, using his athletic abilities to just apply pressure off the ball and on the ball, put himself in positions to turn teams over, and help an already elite defense be even better next season. Now let's talk about the Cavs as a team, diving into their defense first. Here are some stats. The things that stand out to me is that they were the 5th defense in terms of defensive rating. Their points per possession was 6th. Their defensive field goal percentage was 8th. They were an elite group with elite size and length across the board. They were highly versatile. They did a really good job at just being solid. Now it's time to dive into the film a little bit and see what made them so good last season. Everything with the Cavs starts with the paint. So diving into their shell-based defense, the paint is the priority. Paint is king. But with that being said, they were also a type of defense that only helped when necessary. The best help is no help. So when it comes to the point of attack, it was be solid, guard your yard, do what you are capable of. Don't overextend yourself, don't reach, don't try to do too much at the point of attack. But the help side, their priority was let's load the box, let's stay solid in these areas, we'll stab if they're driving down next to us, but we're not going to commit to the full help. And if a guy's on an island, keep him there. We'll be there if he needs us, but just allow him to be solid at the point, and the 4 other team defenders are going to sit back, be in a position where they can help if necessary, but not commit fully to the help so that they're able to block out and rebound as a group. I think that's really creative on JB Bickerstaff's end to utilize the length and size that they had in this way. Rather than packing the paint, they relied on the point being active, being physical, and just doing what they had to do, and the backside being prepared. Now we're going to talk more when the help has to come. They loved having the big as the primary helper. You'll see in a lot of these clips, regardless of where the 4 or 5 man off the ball is, that he's that primary help. Whether it's Markkanen, Allen, Mobley, these were the guys that they scrammed and made a point of having them as that primary point of contact when an offensive player got deep in the paint. I think that this ability to scram off the ball, communicate, and be an elite off-ball group was what made them so special. It made it really tough for a lot of teams to score. When you have a lineup of 3 7-footers on the floor at a time, and you're allowed to have Evan Mobley float the middle of the floor, Jarrett Allen to float the middle of the floor, that's a really hard team to score on. And it's really interesting to see their ability to scram and communicate on the backside, helping when necessary, but when the help did come, the bigs were there. Another thing I want to touch on real quick is how they zoned up off the ball. So say the big came over to help. They did a good job at dropping behind him to take away whatever the porch or low man was. And then the top guy did a good job of zoning up between the 2 or 3 perimeter threats. As a team, their philosophy, their identity at the defensive end is being tough, being physical, preventing easy paint opportunities. But at the end of the day, it came down to staying connected and every individual doing their job at an incredibly high level. In terms of how they guarded the pick and roll, they had a variety of coverages, but the 3 main ones were switchables, which was 1 through 3, 1 through 4, and possibly 1 through 5, and also the 3 through 5 were able to switch. They over and dropped, and they hard showed. But in terms of the drop, we had a video diving into drop coverage, and Jarrett Allen was one of the guys. They liked starting a lot higher in comparison where the screen was. It was typically at the level or a step below, and it allowed them to retreat while also making a play on the ball, being pretty active at the point. And it was really good on their end, but I really want to dive into that backside. They did an awesome job at flattening out, being in the paint, regardless if it's a big at the rim or just a low man, just being solid and active on that help side and always having a body in the paint. You can see here that they did a good job at plugging the rim and making that a tough layup opportunity for Claxton. In this clip against Orlando, you can see the over and drop, and Kevin Love scrams off to be the plug man at the nail. That allows that big to be the primary help. Here against Toronto, we'll see a hard show, but you see Evan Mobley scrammed off the 45 to be that primary help. And then in the second ball screen, the low man just picked up that plug, and they got into their defensive rotations and did a good job of getting a stop. Here against Orlando again, you'll see an empty side pick and roll. In empty side pick and rolls, they liked loading early. So the low man would come over, get that strong side block. they'd drop behind him and then zone up at the weak side elbow nail area just to make a play on the perimeter. Here's another example. Darius Garland is there early in the pick and roll. Laurie's trying to stay with Joel, but they did a good job at staying in position and making the layup tough for Joel Embiid. Here's another example of the help side being loaded early. It's the empty side pick and roll in the play-in game. Mobley came over early and forced a mid-range shot. Their ability to stay connected and do this in ball screen situations as they do in the half court at allowing the big to be that primary help and being there early and often in pick and roll, they did a really good job at being there early and high, making it even tougher for a roll man. And if the ball, they're stopped earlier, their size, length, and athletic ability along that back line really made things difficult, and they were a really good ball screen coverage team, and I'm excited to see what they do next year with more mobility on the court. And the last thing I'm going to dive into defensively is their zone. I thought their zone was one of the best in the league last year. It was a 1-2-2 matchup zone. The top of the zone was controlled by a big, typically Evan Mobley, but we also saw stints of Lauri Markkanen, sometimes even Kevin Love at the top, just to have somebody with length and size, and it was phenomenal. I really liked the pressure that they were able to apply. It was a matchup zone where the box was traditional, where the guards were at the top, bigs were low. They stayed connected, and they really made that emphasis of the bigs being in the paint. That ability to scram and match up on rotations, on player movement, to always allow the big to stay at the rim was very good by them. And I think that the elite part of their zone was how they allowed that middleman, the single guy at the top of the box, to float the middle of the floor. He was the primary guy moving around, making plays, taking up space. It was Evan Mobley or Lauri Markkanen, 2 7-footers just floating the middle of the floor. It's really tough to make plays with that type of size, clogging up such a big area of space. But the weakness of the zone was the middle of the floor, especially early in offense when that single guy was pulled out to the perimeter. It was really easy to enter the ball there. But I think that next year, when you have a Donovan Mitchell on the floor that'll get up and pressure at a higher level than some guys that they had last year, and I think that they'll be able to play bigger lineups this year in general by playing a Chetty at the 2 and stuff like that, that the zone will get amplified. There's going to be chances to have so much size and length on the floor at a time, and also guys that can fly around and pressure. That's going to be really tough on teams to get easy opportunities. And I think another year of Evan Mobley being in the league, he's going to just get better and have a better feel for the game. Now let's talk about the offense of the Cleveland Cavaliers going into next season. Last year, they were middle of the pack. They were 20th in offensive rating. They shot the ball pretty well. They were a little above middle of the pack, but beyond the stats, they did a lot of things really well. They knew how to attack with their size, and adding a Donovan Mitchell definitely helped this offense out. So now it's time to dive into the film and see what we can look forward to this coming season. So these first few clips, I want to just focus on the base and core of this offense. It was a lot of 4 around 1. It was very simple in how they did it. The guards tended to be high, forwards were spaced in the corners, and they allowed a big or non-shooter to float the middle of the floor, whether that meant the porches, whether that meant a smile cut very high above the elbows, just playing off of drives, playing off of each other. When things broke down, though, they did a great job at keeping the floor balanced, maintaining a phenomenal spacing, allowing for driving angles, allowing for bigs to capitalize, allowing for the defense to make the decisions for the offense. This offense was so simple that it was beautiful at the end of the day. I really enjoyed diving into this film. They kept it so simple offensively. They knew how to attack and create advantages with their size and length. They kept the floor balanced at a high level. They attacked gaps and closeouts very simply but effectively. And they did a good job at playing off of each other, moving the ball, and playing good team basketball at this end of the floor. I am excited to see how their offense is able to take advantage of Evan Mobley continuing to progress, of a Donovan Mitchell being implemented in the lineup, and possibly additions along the way. This team is set with a foundation right now, but a lot of these principles and just base of this offense has a lot of room to grow and develop, and I'm excited to see what they do moving forward. Now let's dive into some of my favorite actions from last season. They had a really nice stagger action. that freed up their guards in the middle of the floor, got into some two-man action with the bigs setting the top screen. It's a really good action. I think that Garland and Donovan playing off of this will be huge, and it will be highly successful. And I just really like the movement it provides, the ability to get easy paint. It's a good action overall. Now let's talk about their floppy. They loved getting their guards in floppy actions, especially Garland. Garland was a phenomenal off-ball mover, and I just think that this action could be used for Donovan Mitchell. Also, Caris LeVert. They got a lot of different guys that they can put in these situations to play off their bigs, use the size of the bigs as screeners, and just get downhill, make plays in the second and first levels. This is another really simple action, but they really liked getting their guards in single aways, single pins, whatever you want to call it. But it was just getting a big and a guard on the same empty side of the floor, playing off of each other. And it's a good action. It provided different opportunities. It provided a flip screen opportunity. It provided the opportunity to just straight up attack the middle of the floor with spacing. It's a really nice action, and it's another one that you can see Donovan Mitchell, Garland, LeVert be highly successful with. You can see that there's an obvious trend of the Cavs trying to get their guards playing off of the bigs, whether it's on the ball or off the ball. Staggers, pinaways, veers, these types of actions were used heavily to get their guards in space, playing off their bigs, getting the bigs rolling to the rim, and off the ball they did a phenomenal job at staying spaced, maintaining balance, and also attacking when opportunities present themselves in terms of cuts. But now let's talk about the meat and potatoes of this offense is playing off the bigs. First thing first, they did an awesome job spacing-wise and providing a lot of chances for the big to catch it on an empty side of the floor, attacking the rim and playing alone in the paint, and also having cutting opportunities for another non-shooter or the secondary big to get down there and play off of them. Elbow actions were huge, whether that meant that they're splits away, whether that meant getting into flex cuts, getting into pinaways, getting into flares, just different actions where the big is the playmaker, handoff, Chicago, zooms. All these sorts of actions were used heavily, and it's just a way to get the bigs with the ball in their hands making decisions for the offense. Another thing that they did a phenomenal job of is getting a lot of high-low looks. Whether that meant the big as the trail, the big as a flash, the big as a screen and pop and hit them in the short roll, and the other big cuts to the rim. They just did a really good job at getting their bigs in spots to make these plays for each other, playing off of each other, and having just an overall synergy that could provide opportunities across the board. I think that next year, having a hopefully full season of Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley, they'll have synergy together. Kevin Love will have a lot more opportunity to play now that Lauri Markkanen is gone. And those three guys are going to be huge in their success. The offense runs through the paint, and it's because of how good these three guys are, along with their guard play. But speaking of the bigs, they can get it to them on the block. They can get it to them at the elbows. They can get it to them in the middle of the floor. The action and movement that their touches provided the offense was huge to their success. We're going to use this clip here to talk more about their post spacing. So Kevin Love has it on the block. They got three high and wide, and the other big roaming the porch, finding cracks, finding openings. This is their typical spacing, and they really liked keeping it wide. There wasn't too much movement on the perimeter, but they allowed the secondary big to play on the backside. But to wrap things up, the bigs did a great job at just understanding each other, reading each other, playing that high-low game, playing the low-high game. It's just how they were able to read the floor, make things simple for each other, and also open things up for each other. It was so fun to watch how simple but also elegant that they were together, playing together, moving the ball, and attacking the paint. The more that this offense could get in the paint, allow their bigs to operate, the better it was for everyone involved. It freed up opportunities on the outside, freed up opportunities on the inside, and these bigs are so high level that I'm excited to see them with more development. They're young, they're athletic, they have great skill already, and as they continue to grow and develop in the game of basketball, this part of the offense will just continue to flourish, and they can add to it with inverted actions, with just different ball screen looks. Different opportunities could arise just because of how good these bigs are together on the floor. One huge part of their offense also was three-man actions above the break. They did a really nice job at keeping the corner spaced and having these three guys play in action together. You see a lot of two-man action by other teams, but this ability by the Cavs to get three guys involved was great. Whether it started out of a single high cross, an Iverson, an elbow touch, however it started, it just provided different opportunities, whether that meant hit the elbow, split away, a handoff into a ball screen, a single high cross into a double ball screen, a single high cross into a flare into a dive. Just putting three guys in action is very hard to guard by any defense, and just the talent that they have to throw in these actions, whether it's one or two bigs. Now you have the option of throwing Donovan Mitchell in these actions. It's just going to be really tough by a lot of teams to find ways to guard and slow down with the amount of skill, size, and just overall basketball ability that'll be on the floor together. These actions provided opportunities for randomness, for guys to play to their strengths, and just overall find ways to be creative on the floor, be just something that the defense can't prepare for. These three-man actions are tough to guard, and it's really nice to see the variety that they had in them, whether it was playing off of a pop, the different entry points, the different end results, and just the sheer number of different variations of players that they can throw in these actions, and the different spots on the floor they can try to attack and mismatches they can create, and different things of that sort. So to summarize their three-man actions, they were typically out of a single high cross. They could be two guards, one big, one guard, two bigs. They played out of different alignments, different entries, but some of the common actions were Spains, splits, zooms, Chicagos, shuffles, handoffs, aways, flares, all these different things that allowed them to be so random and creative offensively. And at the end of the day, it was their primary late game look, allowing Garland and a big or two to be in space to make plays and win the game. Here's a possible idea that I could expect to see the creative mind of JB Bickerstaff go to. Evan Mobley is one of the best young players in the NBA. He has skill across the board, his length, his size, his ability to handle, his ability to pass, his ability to also shoot. He is a 3-level scoring threat, and he can handle the ball with being a 7-footer. This guy can definitely be put as a primary handler and offensive creator that could be the primary handler in a ball screen, be the guy that sets and creates the offense. And I'm expecting to see more of the ball in Mobley's hands, allowing guys like Garland to play off the ball, Jarrett Allen, Donovan Mitchell, Caris LeVert to go make plays as off-ball guys. The Cavs have one of the brightest futures in the NBA with this young core of Evan Mobley, Darius, Garland, Jarrett Allen, and their new addition Donovan Mitchell under coach JB Bickerstaff, who isn't afraid to do things differently, go against the grain, and it's been successful so far in his time in Cleveland. But going into next season, the Cavs have one of the most elite defensive units, and I think that could repeat again. They have the recipe for success, and they added Donovan Mitchell on the perimeter, which could definitely help them out. And offensively, they're very solid. They have some tweaks that they could make. I think that the addition of Donovan Mitchell there will definitely show, and I'm excited to see what they bring to the table this coming season. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, learned something about the Cleveland Cavaliers. For more content like this, please like, subscribe, and share, and we'll catch you in the next one.